A very good day to you and welcome to this edition of State of Nigeria. My name is Olumide Adele and I'm here again to give you an update on what has been happening in the political space in Nigeria. If this sounds like what you're interested in, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, awarewa.tv, on YouTube, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. We're going to be bringing you updates like this every single week. And for State of Nigeria, we will also bring analysis, we will bring discussants, we will talk about what is happening in the country. So what do we have for you this week? Social media has been agog with stories of alleged domestic violence involving a reporter with Channels TV, Pius Angbo. The allegations, which came from none other than his wife Ifeyiwa, presented a picture of repeated domestic abuse. I must warn that this is really distressing to watch, but please take a listen.
Hello people, my name is Ifeyiwa. I'm a doctor. I've been married to this man, Pius Angbo of Channels Television, for 6 years. And for 6 years, I've known no peace in this marriage. It's been from one woman to another. Sleeps from one woman. Just had a baby. It was a cesarean section just about 4 weeks ago. That's why I got this beating. Tried to strangle me and all that. Sat on my incision and everything. My children were crying. And I was pregnant with this child. When the pregnancy was 3 months. It was the same thing. He would sit on my stomach, hit me.
Why is this making it to a political show, you may ask? Well, the issue has now been resolved, or so it has been said, by Benue State Governor, Governor Samuel Ortom, who pushed for an amicable resolution of the disputes. This has raised many questions and thrust this into further national discourse. It spotlights stories of domestic abuse and violence, especially against women, and the reaction of the society to them, the norms that make it impossible or very difficult for them to get out of such abusive situations. Social media has been agog. But let me not get ahead of the conversation. I'm going to play you a video of the purported resolution by Governor Samuel Ortom, and then I'm going to bring in my guest who will be talking about that issue.
First of all, I sincerely want to thank the governor of the state. He's really shown he's a father of taking your counsel, sir, and going forward, I intend to make my marriage work. I accept your apology, my husband. We have 4 children who are still very tender, and all we need now is your prayers.
So I have with me today Mrs. Oshofowuara. Mrs. Oshofowuara is a relationship counselor. She's a marriage coach. And so she's going to be talking to us about this case. You've heard about the case in question. What do you think about it?
We've had so many cases of domestic violence, different examples over the years. So it's just one of the same examples of many cases of domestic violence that we have. And of course, under normal circumstances, since it has gotten to that point, the proper thing for her to do and the proper thing for anybody to ask her to do is to leave. In fact, she should have left a long time ago. She should not have stayed that long up to this point. So basically, she shouldn't even be there.
You know, for some perspective, on a normal day, this shouldn't even come up in a political show, such as this one. But then the governor got involved, the governor of Benue State, Governor Ortom. And we must bear in mind that this governor, according to him, has been married for more than, I think, 30 or 40 years. That's a long period of time. That means that he has experience to share. And he counseled that they should resolve their differences. We saw them coming out on camera doing that or seeming to do that. What do you think about the governor's intervention?
Okay, I know there has been a lot of, response online, social media about what the governor did. I would like to explain the governor's part like this. I can understand what the governor is trying to do, but the governor has good intentions. But we need to understand that good intentions, not backed up with corresponding actions, only leads to confusion. The truth of the matter is that it's important that each one of us understands our space, our area of strength. Let me give you an example. A lion is a very powerful animal on the land. But if you put the lion in the water, the lion becomes weaker than a tilapia. You get it? Why? Because the waters are not the natural habitat of the lion. So the truth of the matter is that the governor may have had a successful marriage, have many years of experience in marriage, but that doesn't make you a marriage counselor. Because counseling is a professional work that you are trained for. You understand? So that is the mistake that the governor made. He can't afford to use his own marital experience as a yardstick to judge that particular situation. Because as a counselor, you don't use your experience to counsel people.
In fact, I know that in some of the advanced countries, it is even a crime to offer certain forms of counseling in professional capacity without having the right qualifications for it.
That is why I feel that the mistake of the governor was that he's an elderly man. He believes in the sanctity of marriage. He believes that marriages can be helped. He had a good intention. But you address issue based on the parameters that are in front of you. In fact, that guy should have been arrested.
I like a statement that you made, the sanctity of marriage. Do you believe in the sanctity of marriage?
Of course. You see, this is what is happening. Marriage has no personal characteristics or personality of itself. It takes on the personality of the people that are in it. So marriage is indeed a beautiful, a lovely institution. And it has no problem. If we stop contracting the wrong marriages, we will stop having issues in marriage.
You know, if we look at some of our parents, some of the older generations, some of our ancestors, one of the things we would see is divorce rates were really low. And it looks like divorce rates are on the increase in Africa. Of course, they're even much higher outside of Africa, but they're on the increase here as well. A lot of people are attributing that to westernization, and they're saying the West is maybe teaching us the wrong things. But is it really the West teaching us wrong things, or people are becoming more aware of maybe their rights and they're getting more aware about things like abuse and situations like that? I guess what I'm asking is, were our parents hiding the abuse that they were probably facing?
Oh, of course, a lot of us out there knows that our parents were not happy couples. Why do we like deceiving ourselves? A successful marriage is not measured by how long. It is measured by how happily long. The truth of the matter is that quite a number of our parents had problematic marriages. A lot of our mothers and grandmothers were miserable wives. The difference is the fact that they chose to stay despite and in spite the misery that they are passing through, by virtue of the kind of background, mind system, perceptions that they have been given, that they had. Some of them were even willing to die there, and quite a number of them actually died there. The children simply decided not to tell the true story of how his or her mother died. Do you get it? What is happening now is the fact that enlightenment, education, and a greater awareness that people are having concerning their rights and the proper things to do is now making today's woman to say, I will not sacrifice myself upon the altar of your own character deficiencies. So that is the reason why it looks as if now we have marriages, divorce rates or separation on the increase. That is one reason. Another reason is the fact that also in this generation, a lot of us really love our comfort zone. We really don't want to endure anything. So any small thing that happens,
and then people are
just out of it.
And so in your opinion, at what point, because I can see on the one hand, you're talking about the sanctity of marriage.
Yes.
On the other hand, I saw that you mentioned something about the fact that people might not be happy in their marriages, and you mentioned, maybe not directly, that at certain points it might be safe to get out.
Yes.
So that brings the question of at what point does it become important to say, okay, maybe I shouldn't be in this marriage anymore?
The moment emotional, psychological, and physical health is at stake, don't stay. Don't stay. The moment whatever is happening in that marriage becomes toxic enough to threaten emotional, psychological, or physical well-being or health, whoever is being threatened should not stay. Because part of the mistake we make is that we always assume that when it comes to abusive marriages, women are always the victim. No. Too many years of experience have taught me that a lot of men are also victims. The difference is that men don't talk because of embarrassment.
Yes.
So whoever is on the receiving side, the moment emotional, psychological, or physical well-being or health is being threatened, don't listen to anybody. Leave.
You very important point. Men can sometimes be at the receiving end.
Yes.
So if men are at the receiving end, is it logical to say that maybe they've been enduring a lot of abuse, a lot of verbal abuse, which often happens from their wives, and maybe they get tired of it and they decide to react by beating up the woman?
Yeah.
Would you say that that's an appropriate reaction? Is it justifiable? Because one of the angles I read to this story involving the reporter and his wife was that somebody claimed that the woman had always been harassing him with her words and all of that. Now, we don't know how true any of that is. It's important to say that a lot of what we've heard has been, third-party reporting. People don't know anything beyond what she said on video, on camera. So, but that was one of the angles to the story. So in that kind of situation, assuming that a woman has been abusive verbally, is it a good idea? Would you say it is justifiable for the man to raise his hands and hit the woman?
This is the best way to answer that question. Will you say it is also justifiable that a woman who have been a victim of domestic violence one day, in a bid to defend herself, killed the man? Every time it happens, we lock her up. We did not say that because this time around she decided to just defend herself and in a bid to defend herself, she now killed the guy. We will not say that. We will still get her arrested, get her prosecuted, lock her up.
In fact, I can remember a case
like that. Do you remember that case?
Yes.
Nobody said that, she was defending herself. Now that she killed the man, of course, she faced the law. So the truth of the matter is that there is no justification for being a beast when you are created a human being. I say it every time that a clean well does not bring out dirty water, no matter how much you stir it. Circumstances do not make you to do anything. Circumstances brings to the surface what has always been residual inside of you. So irrespective of the provocation, which is also not excusing away a woman provoking her husband. But irrespective of that, it doesn't justify a man beating up his wife or a woman beating up her husband. If it gets to that point whereby somebody is provoking you to that level, before you get yourself into a situation whereby you cannot go away from, leave.
So going back to the specific situation at hand, we've seen a video in which the woman alleged that her husband was beating her up. We saw bruises on her face, or what we felt would have been bruises put upon her, probably by her husband. And then we saw the narration of how she was beaten up even in pregnancy, after delivery. It was a very graphic description. And a lot of people have been saying, going back into that marriage means that she wants to kill herself. I know you touched on that, but what is your opinion? Now she's saying they're going to make things work out. From your own experience, for people who make such decisions, because I know obviously this would have to be general, we can't be overly specific as to anybody's particular situation, but from your own experience, how do such stories usually go?
Most times, such stories end at the graveyard. Most times. Because character reformation is not an event. It's a process. For most people who are violent and who are involved in domestic violence, people don't understand that they themselves, they are sick people. Domestic violence is really not a crime of violence. It's a crime of a depraved mentality of somebody who most likely is a victim of violence themselves. Statistics shows us that for everyone who gets involved in domestic violence, who is a perpetrator, if you check their history, they were victims. So they are angry people who is taking out their anger and frustration of a society and of parents who did not protect them. Is taking it out on the closest person to them. So really, she's living with a sick person. And it cannot change overnight. So her going back there really is not even fair to the man, because she has gone back there to continue to expose him to a stimuli that will make him to do worse things, she being the victim of those actions. So the proper thing for her to have done is to have stayed away. Now, if she is now interested in that marriage, and if that man is truly repentant, like the governor and everybody is telling us, simple, there must be fruits that are evidences of repentance. What they should have done is that they should have maintained the separation. Take him for therapy, anger management, mind renewal classes, and then wait until over consecutively over time. Because you see, consistency is the evidence of transformation. So if he can prove over time that he has mastered his anger, he has mastered those pain, he has mastered those weaknesses, and with consistent actions proves that now he can control himself, it is then she should move back. Not move back now to please either societal, religious, or traditional expectations. It doesn't make sense.
They say that time is a revealer. In this case, she has moved back, or so we believe, and we know that one of the key considerations that she mentioned when she was doing that press conference with the governor and with other people was the presence of her children. They had 4 children. I know that for many women, that's a big consideration. So for people who have children and who are in abusive marriages, and now we've established that it might be wise for them to move out, especially when there are certain levels or certain types of abuse. If we're saying they should move out, how about that big consideration, the children?
Let me start from the foundation. You understand? Because if you're going to kill a tree, you can't remove the fruits. You go to the roots. The first thing I would like to tell women out there is that the next most irresponsible thing that a woman can do after marrying an irresponsible man is to have a child for him. You see, the fact that she had 4 children in itself is problematic. The moment you find yourself in a violent marriage or a problematic marriage, you must not bring children into it. Because children are not conflict resolution techniques. They are victims of that atmosphere. But now that children has come, in fact, the children are the major reason after her life that she shouldn't stay. Why? Every time you stay in a violent marriage because of the children, you are inadvertently propagating and increasing the continuation of domestic violence. Why? Because the moment those children grows up in such an environment, you will have destroyed their psyche and they will behave exactly like their father.
That. Yes.
So when the boys, the sons of that family go up to, that is why their father is like that. His mother stayed to make him like that. So if she stayed and those children grow up like that, they are going to replicate that environment. So actually, apart from the life of the woman, the children are one of the reasons why anybody should live. And that is why every woman, not even women, everybody out there should be financially balanced. Be productive. Don't just, no matter how blessed your spouse is, make sure that relatively well, you are also good. And in the case of this woman, she's a doctor. She has absolutely no reason to stay. Even the children. She can take care of the children. And she should leave even because of them.
You know, that even presents a situation. So she's a medical doctor. I think we can assume, based on data about doctors in Nigeria, that she's well off. She's likely to be at least above average, comfortable. So maybe money is not the problem for her, but could it be that she's afraid of what the society would say?
Okay, of course, that's a very important point, because really the society has stigmatized women who are seen as single mothers or divorcees or stuffs like that. But this is the way I see life. You can't continue to expose yourself to life-threatening situation because of the society. Because the society that is saying something today is going to say another thing tomorrow. So she cannot afford to endanger her life and that of the children because of society. Part of maturity is the ability to receive stimuli, process it, and respond accordingly, not react. So she should take the right decision for herself, for her children, and for the future, and just ignore the society, because really the society is equally evolving. Presently now, actually, we have less people who talk like that because everybody's eyes is now open. You understand? So she cannot take a destiny and future decision over a variable factor. And societal view is a variable factor. It changes with time. And also we need to begin to sensitize and educate people to stop stigmatizing single parenthood. It is not a crime to be a single parent. In fact, it is wisdom sometimes to be a single parent. The children will turn out better than certain children who were brought up in toxic environments.
And that brings me to one of the last questions. If we look at the issue of, if we draw parallels between the handling of this and what it would have been in the more advanced world, maybe in a place like the UK or in the US, we probably would have had, in fact, before that video came out, we would have seen child services, we would have seen the police, we would have seen all sorts
Neighbors
of
will
things.
have called 911.
And the man would most likely have been arrested. He would most likely be in jail. The woman would have had the right to maybe his property, to child maintenance, and a whole lot of things. These are things that African men are generally not very comfortable with. In fact, a lot of people say when you travel abroad, be careful about the woman you bring along with you, because she might just use all of that to get your property. But talking very seriously, what are the things that we need to do here, maybe from a government perspective, from a policy perspective, that can help to protect victims of domestic violence in relationships?
All these rules and regulations are in Nigeria. It is the choice of people to blow up and mix up opinion, sentiment, tradition, and the law. The same legal system that protects the woman or the victim in developed countries, they are here. It is the choice of women not to get him arrested and say, I have a child for him. It's the choice of women or the victim to go for family meetings. And then the family member says, somebody that is the father of your children is more than a husband. It is a choice to go for things like that. So it is not that there is no system on ground that can handle it. It is people that refuse to establish it, institute it, or make use of it. So each person out there needs to decide if I want to take legal steps. For example, this lady now, all this thing that is happening is because she allowed people to get involved. She should just have gone to the police station. She should have gotten a lawyer, a good lawyer. Get to the police station, have him arrested and locked up. He should be taken to court, prosecuted. If there is enough evidence to prove that that is it, he will be dealt with. And if she decides to proceed that I want to legally dissolve this marriage because of that, it will be dissolved. Everything will be done normally once she follows the rules and regulations. So the law is there. It is the people of Nigeria or Africa or blacks that decide that sentiment and tradition is more important than the law.
In our culture, it seems to be generally acceptable for men, for people who have power or who have maybe physical power or even political power, to abuse the women who may not. A soldier alighted from a bus and then got down, stripped a lady almost naked, claiming that she was dressed indecently.
Yeah.
So knowing fully well that you are a family person, you advocate for decent dressing and all of that, I would still like to hear your perspective about this. The lady, was she at fault? Because I've heard that argument that he was doing the work of God. How could she have dressed indecently? So what would you say with regards to that story?
All right. You see, the manifestation of insanity is whether you do it rightly or wrongly does not remove the fact that you are being mad. If the problem of that person is that she was indecently dressed, meaning that he felt she exposed too much of her body, should the solution be that you now exposed everything? It's just madness. Do you get it? So it is totally wrong, totally unacceptable for you to strip a woman naked or to beat her up or to touch her because she is indecently dressed. Indecent dressing is not right, but that is not the solution to indecent dressing. I have met ladies many times as a mother that I didn't like the way she was exposing herself, and I call her aside. My dear, this doesn't befit you. It doesn't make people to respect you. And we talk one-on-one, and she goes her way. I won't even force her to go and change because I don't have that right. As long as she's an adult, nobody has the right to tell her how to dress, whether she's doing it well or not. So such authority figures, that is mismanagement of authority, abuse of power. And the truth of the matter is that I follow that case of, if I'm not mistaken, people really sent it viral. And I believe the army actually got him arrested and dealt with him. So personally, I feel that the victims should not keep quiet. They should speak out. And the moment they speak out, every one of us should back it up and continue to use the power of the air, communication, and social media to make sure that each single case that we know about is resolved and the perpetrators dealt with. You see, it will take us time because remember that where we are coming from is very dark. So, and it took us many years to be at that point. But if we do not relent, we continue to talk, we continue to do programs like this, everybody makes it a personal responsibility. You have a neighbor that you're always hearing their noise of beating every time. Don't keep quiet as the neighbor. Report, get the police involved. If we begin to do that over a period of time, the same way we got to that point is the same way we're going to live.
For a lot of women, or for a lot of people, right from the stage of being in a relationship, they would have observed certain indices. In fact, if I remember well, with this specific story, the woman alluded to certain observations from the time of courting. So what would you advise people to look out for when they are courting before they get married? What are the things they should be doing?
There are quite a number of signs that proves that, such a person can be a perpetrator of domestic violence. The first one is temper. You're going out with a person, and when the person gets angry, the next 1 week we are still begging him or her. We have to contact friends and family to help us beg him. You get it? People go out with guys and ladies that when they are angry with you, they collect every gift they have given you around that time. And until their mind calms down, they must not return it. You went out with a guy in a restaurant, the two of you are eating, and then, something happened, he got angry. And he left you and went, didn't pay. Do you understand? All these signs are there. We have relationships whereby one of them is a monitoring spirit. Where are you? I saw you online and it is not me you are chatting with. So who are you chatting with? I called you, did not pick. Who are you talking to? You understand? When you have people that are overly, controlling, overly jealous, you get it? They must monitor where you are, who you are with. You must not have any friend of the opposite sex. They pick your phone at intervals to scroll through it to so many people you are chatting with and you're not chatting with. All these are signs of controlling people. They're always there. We even have cases of relationship whereby even in that relationship, he has beaten her up or she has slapped his face. Even if they don't beat you up, you're in a relationship with somebody, the person gets angry and the person abuses you, your generation, both born and unborn, everybody collapse together. And then you keep saying he will change. Listen, marriage is not an evangelism tool. You don't marry people to change them. Anything you see in a person, like I say, you cannot marry a perfect person. But any weakness you see in anybody that you know that if this weakness does not change, I will not be able to live with it happily, is the reason why you must not marry that person. So we call it the power wheel. That is the wheel that gives us these signs. It's called the power wheel. And all the signs are there. We have people whereby they are still in a relationship. I say it every time. When a man talks too much of submission in a relationship, be careful of him. You understand? He's so interested in you must do whatever I say, you must obey me. When I'm talking, you don't talk, blah, 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 like that. You're already seeing the sign that this person is going to control you. So when you see signs like that, the best thing is break the relationship. Don't bother to move ahead.
And so finally, to women out there, to people out there, because like you rightly said, they're not necessarily only women, to people who have been victims of abuse, whether physical abuse or repeated verbal abuse or emotional abuse or any other form of abuse that is leading to a toxic marriage, what would your final advice be?
Read my lips. Leave. Leave. To live. To live.
Live to live.
The covenant of life is more important and more powerful than the covenant of marriage. So anything, any relationship, it may not even be marriage. It could be even before marriage. Any relationship you find yourself in that is toxic and that is, it is putting your life and your well-being in danger. Do not stay in that environment. Leave. If you feel you don't have enough support, cry for help. There are organizations, there are NGOs, there are support systems that what they do is to support people like that. Get them houses, get them job, take care of those children. It is if you keep quiet that help will not rise. For example, if this lady, if what she has told us as citizens is that, help me, I don't even have a job, I'm an online person. I cannot count the number of cases of people coming together to help and support and settle such victims because they asked for help. There are no excuses. Leave.
Okay, that is it. Thank you very much for being on the show. We'll be back.